of the City Council of Santa Barbara for October 26th. Ms. Peterson, will you please call the roll?
Chair Bendy White.
Here.
Grant House.
Here.
Frank Hotchkiss.
Here.
And would you kindly read what business we have before us today?
The item before you today is the Zoning Information Report Ordinance Revisions.
Great. And we have a staff report.
We do. Thank you. Today we have before you a continued discussion from the October 12th Ordinance Committee meeting where staff brought before you several different ordinance amendments that we were proposing at that time, and you moved several of them forward onto City Council, and there were a couple that needed some more discussion, one of which had to do with amendments to the ordinance for zoning information reports, and there was also several revisions we were proposing to the sign regulations. And today's discussion will focus just on zoning information reports. All the amendments related to sign regulations will be on the November 9th Ordinance Committee meeting. So I just wanted to be clear about that, and in case there was anyone in the audience who wasn't clear. So today's amendments before you have to do with zoning information reports. And when we require them, as current requirements regulate or stipulate that zoning information reports are required prior to the transfer of any residential property in the city, and it's required prior to every transfer of any residential property. The property owner must apply for the zoning information report within 5 days of entering escrow, after entering escrow, and once they apply to staff does an inspection of the site. We prepare the ZIR and then return that completed report to the property owner. They have the obligation to provide a copy of that report to the potential buyer before escrow closes. We aren't proposing any changes to the standard requirements of a ZIR. What we do want to propose for you to consider is several areas where we would exempt from ZIR requirements in particular situations. The primary one is with condominium units, and this comes out of our ongoing discussions with the Santa Barbara Association of Realtors, and also as we were considering different budget adjustments within the planning division, how could we meet the needs of both parties, and we all agreed that making ZIRs optional for condominium units is something that we could all support. We rarely find zoning violations in condominium units. As you're aware, there's homeowners associations and CC&Rs that restrict development in those developments. So we feel pretty confident that if we were not to obtain a ZIR for every transaction or sale of a condominium unit, we would feel pretty confident that we're not perpetuating zoning violations in doing that. Also, while we were considering exemptions from ZIR requirements, we would like to recommend that we also exempt dwellings that are currently under construction if they happen to transfer title while they're under construction, and also those dwellings that have received a final building inspection within the past 3 months. We feel pretty confident that we wouldn't find zoning violations in those properties if they're undergoing building inspections while they're under construction or have recently received a final inspection. The last change is just to reiterate and explicitly state in the ordinance that it's unlawful to transfer title without first providing a ZIR to the buyer. So we just want to make that language really clear. I just wanted to touch on some concerns that were raised at the last meeting, and they have more to do with administrative practices and how we deal with some of those escrows that are a little bit unique. We do have a system in place for escrows that are shorter than 14 days. We do turn around those reports within, before the escrow closes. We don't charge a double fee. We understand it's a short escrow, and we can accommodate that into our schedule. Where we do charge a double fee is if we have a standard escrow, 30 days, and the application is not made to staff until 14 days before the close of escrow, then we do charge a double fee to accommodate that into the schedule. One thing that we've recently discussed with the Association of Realtors is how to handle these short sales that we're seeing more often, and we've agreed to treat them like an expedited ZIR if we get verification in the form of a letter from the bank or some other form that they need to quickly close escrow, that we would accommodate that. We wouldn't charge a double fee. We would treat it like an expedited ZIR. So that's just a touch on some comments that were raised at the last meeting. I don't have anything further to add. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Mr. Hotchkiss?
Hi, thank you very much. Quick question, too, actually. How long is the ZIR good for? If we get in an escrow and then the escrow falls out, is it good for another 6 months or what?
Councilmember Hotchkiss, ZIRs are good for 1 year, and people can also request extensions if they would like.
And how many staff members do we have that do zoning inspections now? Do you know?
We have one primary person who prepares them. If we get busy, then we will bring in a couple other staff members to help back her up.
Good, thank you.
Any other questions of staff? Okay, well then I'll open the public hearing. There being nobody in the audience to speak who qualifies for that, I'll close the public hearing and the matter is back to the committee.
Mr. Chair, sorry.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, yes. I think this addressed the issues that we had heard last time at the last meeting, and I know one of the concerns had to do with the requirement of a ZIR, in a sense, too early in the process. And I think that the way we have it worded, actually we haven't really changed the way that it has been, but it was explained well last time, and people understood let's see, I think it was the 5 days, within 5 days of entering escrow. But they must provide a copy of the ZIR to the buyer before escrow closes, and I see that here in the...
3 days, actually, I think.
Yeah, let's just talk about this, be sure we understand that. 3 days, let's say that out loud so that we have that on the record, because that was something that was raised last time.
Yes, Councilmember House, that is correct. The ZIR is supposed to be provided to the potential buyer 3 days prior to escrow closing.
And just so you know, I checked with the realtors. They're happy with that. They double-checked, looked at all the other regs, so...
So the items that we're recommending to council that are the changes are are on the slide right now. That's the one slide that has all of them that we have in our packet.
Correct.
Okay. Well, then, for the sake of discussion, I move that we recommend those to City Council.
Okay.
There's a motion second to recommend approval of the proposed changes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, well then this item will go, these recommendations will go forward to council at some agenda in the future. And that being the only piece of business before this committee,